Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Wake Up. Thank you so much for waking up with us on this morning, Thursday, January 24th on the show. It's time to delve a little bit deeper into why we have a shutdown and what's causing it as well. Crazy stuff going on right now in Venezuela and more. Well, that's what we got for you today. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Spencer Walsh. Great to have you here with us as always. And at the White House, it's being described as Trump's Greek chorus. A group of 20 conservative allies of President Trump went to the White House yesterday to urge him to stick to his guns on this $5.7 billion border wall, even if it meant prolonging the already longest running government shutdown in history. Why? It's because the president's right flank is more concerned with preventing amnesty to young undocumented immigrants known as dreamers in any deal with the Democrats than reopening the government. So yeah, they're still concerned about amnesty and preventing, oh my gosh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Preventing amnesty is their number one concern if they ever want to think about reopening the government again. Like, that's no amnesty. Like, and the thing is, the problem is they have a very large and broad definition of amnesty. So Trump proposed on Saturday a 3-year extension of protections for some immigrants under DACA and temporary protected status in exchange for wall funding. So that didn't look like it was going to fail. That proposal is slated again for a Senate vote today. I'm sorry I said it was yesterday, but it is today now. Along with one from the Democrats to reopen the government immediately through February 8th, while negotiations continue. Neither measure, though, is expected to secure 60 votes to pass, and it's all dragging on. But the conservatives who attended the meeting with Trump yesterday stressed that the president shouldn't concede any more territory on immigration, even if it meant dragging out the shutdown that has furloughed without pay 800,000 workers. And yeah, this is exactly why the shutdown has gone on for so long, because of this conservative chorus who keeps saying, keep pushing, no amnesty. The main takeaway was the president has no intention of caving on this, said the Center for Immigration Studies' Mark Krikorian, who attended the conservative confab. I guess you could call it. There was no discussion of what further concessions might be made after Thursday's votes failed to get to 60. That's good. I think almost everyone. It's good for them. It's bad for us. If he doesn't, it's bad literally for the country that Trump is getting an earful from these people. Because as we know, he's a really kind of a toddler brain, and he's really very easily influenced. Like that's the problem. That's something that we all have to take into account here. I think almost everyone there said we could live without this because there was some worry that Trump was offering amnesty, but a lot of them said don't slide anymore because some are worried about a big amnesty bill, said the Heritage Foundation's Stephen Moore, who also attended the meeting, referring to Trump's Saturday proposal, because they were worried that proposal that the Democrats thought was a bunch of BS. They thought that was too nice. They thought that proposal that would just give the Democrats a little bit, would be too nice. And all they're saying is just hold the line. And when no one wants to break, no one's going to break. It's just that simple. And the shutdown continues to drag on. Apparently, he said he seemed concerned that he might lose a couple of votes. Moore told the Washington Post, but he seemed to think that there's more cracks on their side than our side. I think he feels that the longer this goes on, the weaker his position is going to get, and I think I think he's right. If you look at the description of this this episode today, 6 out of 10 Americans, according to AP-NORC poll, say that he is to blame now for the shutdown, and I think, people are catching on is what's going on. Very interesting, though, just last night, Senator Cory Gardner has announced that he intended to break with the party on Trump's wall. He intends to break with the party on Trump's wall and vote for the Democratic proposal to open the government. So that's interesting. It's not going to be enough, but it's going to get 60 votes here. Not 48 votes. Vice President Pence, Jared Kushner, and other White House staffers also attended the meeting yesterday, in which Trump told the group he had been advised by some people to include a whole DACA deal plus population the whole DACA Plus population in a proposal to end the shutdowns. That's what they're trying to do. That's what he said he was trying to do, and it doesn't really make sense. I guess the DACA, everyone involved in DACA, and for a permanent amount of time, that's what he was advised to be included. Sources in the room said it was implicit that Trump was referring to Jared Kushner when it came to such language, who was later ribbed by Trump. So yeah, apparently that's fun. Jared was all the way at the end of the table, Krikorian said. The VP got up to leave, and Jared came to take his seat. And then he said, "Oh no, I'm fine back here." And Trump made some joke like, he's way over there on the left. He was ribbing him, in other words, because he's basically a Democrat. But it is funny that Trump was acknowledging that, and Jared seemed to be taking it in good strides. That's according to someone who was there in the meeting. Kushner was being made fun of for trying to just include the whole DACA Plus population, whatever that means. I'm still a little fuzzy on what that means, in an attempt to end the shutdown. So this is, again, apparently been a real struggle of conservative anxiety, a focus of conservative anxiety, according to Josh Dawsey and Robert Costa of the Washington Post. He is apparently now an omnipresent and assertive player on the Hill during the now 33-day impasse, despite deep skepticism on said Hill about his political abilities, influence, according to more than a dozen Trump associates, lawmakers, and others involved in the discussions. So, Kushner, who referred a request for comment to the White House, this is from the story, has told Trump advisors he has solid relationships with several Democrats, including Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin, and that he can sell a compromise to moderate Democrats and Republicans whom he built a rapport with while working on the criminal justice bill. But a number of Senate Democrats, including Joe Manchin, haven't heard from Kushner in weeks, according to aides. And aides to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, says he has he's played no role in their discussion to reopen the government. So that's something that is a little bit unfortunate. It could be why we aren't, there's literally no talks on the table for a compromise. If we had some sort of influence, if Jared Kushner took a little bit more of an influence than he's already taking in these negotiations, which so far is not a very big influence, we could have something that looks like we are trying to open the government here. So Nancy Pelosi, though, did try to corral on Wednesday a little bit. According to Shelgay Stolberg of the New York Times, during a closed-door meeting with the Democrats on Wednesday morning, Pelosi urged her caucus to stay unified and to not peel off and begin negotiating with the president on his terms, which could muddle the stark differences between Trump and them on a critical issue. She also told the rank-and-file lawmakers that they should not get too bogged down, that's a quote, on what the legislation was being voted upon, and a direct message to some of her restive centrist freshmen who had been meeting with Republican freshmen to discuss a bipartisan path out of the shutdown. The appeal seemed to have worked, and thank goodness. Let's hope it decided to work. And rank-and-file Democrats appeared united behind their leader's demand that the government open before border security. The government needed to be open before border security negotiations even took place. So yeah, government open is the first step to any kind of negotiations. That's what she's saying. I think that's what she was trying to do here with the State of the Union cancel, because this is a quote from her letter to Trump. I'm happy to welcome you back in the House when we find a mutually agreeable date. So I think that's what she's trying to do. That's her main focus. She wants to do it at a mutually agreeable time, which I think is perfectly reasonable. And when the government shutdown is being held by Trump, and when this is being held up by Trump, I think it's perfectly necessary for that focus. So yeah, Trump did make one concession to Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats at Twitter late last night that he would, in fact, wait to deliver the State of the Union until the government shutdown is over. That came after Pelosi stated she wouldn't pass a measure allowing the president to use the House chamber to give the speech on January 29th. So yeah, no speech for him. No speech for you. That's pretty much what's going on. So, yeah. Right now, give you a quick brief look at what's going on as a possible funding for a border wall in various deals. So right now in the House bill, since Democrats took control January 3rd, the House has passed 10 government funding bills that would reopen some or all agencies, none of which have included new border wall money. Over on the Senate Democratic side, the Democratic proposal set for a vote Thursday includes no additional money for border security or any other government function. Instead, it just opened the government through February 8th under prior funding levels to allow for further negotiations while also providing a $14 billion in unrelated disaster relief funding, which is nice, and something that, by the way, Trump was considering, we covered this on the show, considering to take from if he ever called a national emergency to fund the wall. And by the way, I thought he would do that by now, so it's a little shocking. But Trump's plans are obviously $5.7 billion to build the wall across hundreds of miles along the southern border, including plans for funding of 750 more Border Patrol agents, 375 additional Customs and Border Patrol officers, and 2,000 more ICE agents and support staff. It's not the direction that I personally want to go in at all. So over on the Dreamers side, Trump offered a 3-year pause in the plan. Senate Democrats don't address DACA or TPS. They just try to get the government open, and none of the House bills, interestingly enough, address DACA or TPS, but I'm sure that's something that Democrats will be very quick. I hope that's something that Democrats, and they should be very quick to protect this situation. Joni Ernst has a little bit of a Me Too moment going on for her on the Hill. In the first interview since her divorce from her husband were divulged, Joni Ernst told Bloomberg's Jennifer Jacobs that she was very sad, raped in college by someone she knew, and that her ex-husband physically abused her, making her one of the highest-profile Republican women in the party alleged assaults in the era of the Me Too movement. So she's going to have to seek a re-election there as a single woman, so that's kind of tough. All right, now a little bit of a crazy situation right now in Venezuela, as anti-Maduro protesters have taken the streets of Caracas, as Trump recognizes the opposition party as really kind of a, so far, bloodless coup going on in Venezuela. So President Trump yesterday embraced Venezuela's opposition leader, dubbing National Assembly President Juan Guaido the legitimate leader of that country, which has been thrown into chaos protesting against the actual president, Nicolas Maduro. Trump said it's in its role as the only legitimate branch of government duly elected by the Venezuelan people. The National Assembly has invoked the country's constitution to declare Nicolas Maduro illegitimate and the office of the presidency therefore vacant. The people of Venezuela have courageously spoken out against Maduro and his regime and demanded freedom and the rule of law. All right, this is the problem that really does kind of irk me. Again, it's another one of these situations where, I mean, maybe a lot of people are in support of this coup and what's going on. Or really, that's what it is at this point. Like, let's be honest. That's pretty much where we're at this point. But when we are involved in this, like, why do we have to come out and say this? Why? I don't get it. Why can't we just let things happen? We're not under direct threat from Nicolas Maduro at all. What is the point in interfering with these countries' affairs? Like, is it for like oil purposes? Probably. It's I just think we should just pretty much can we just please stop with this ridiculous interfering with other people's countries? It just never seems to end, and it's just such a common theme. Like, if we just let this guy take power, have a free and fair democratic election, that would be nice, but just let them figure it out. Please. I know that's not going to happen, but still, it would be nice. Maduro kicked all the U.S. diplomats out of the country, and Guaido, the new National Assembly opposition leader guy, said before a cheering throng, the 35-year-old industrial engineer, recently named head of the country's National Assembly, took the long-awaited step on Wednesday of declaring himself interim president, an attempt to replace Maduro's legitimate head of the state. Though stripped of its power by Maduro, the assembly is widely recognized internationally as the country's last democratic institution, reported Mariana Zuniga, Anthony Fiola, and Rachel Krieger from Caracas. Though stripped of its power by Maduro, it's just a repeat there. What it does mean is Guaido's declaration is dramatically set to escalate international attempts led by the U.S. to force Maduro from office after elections last year, seen as a fraudulent power grab, even as it's set to put Guaido at high risk in a country where opposition leaders have been arrested, tortured, and exiled. So that's going to be very tough. So recognizing government as president would have a significant effect on how U.S. officials handle